Flexibility and leadership skills rather than an MBA are more than likely to be the key for success for today's business leaders, especially after the events of the past 18 months when the pandemic created chaos in the way most of us lived and worked.
Leadership expert and author of You Don't Need an MBA, Alicia McKay, joins us now. Alicia, thanks for coming on the program. Why don't we need an MBA?
Oh, I mean, you can have one if you like. But no, I think MBAs are typical of your kind of traditional way of thinking about business education, which comes from a time where you could hoard knowledge away in a building or in a library, and if you were lucky and paid lots of money, you could get your hands on it, and then you would know things that other people didn't, and that would ensure your success. But you know, it's been 20 or 30 years since that hasn't been a reality, and business education hasn't kept up. So all the information that we need in terms of technical data is available at the touch of our fingertips. It's not knowledge that's an advantage anymore, and it's not technical expertise that's going to get us ahead. And what we've seen in events like COVID or the GFC is that actually what we need from our leaders is the ability to cope with change and be flexible when our business model is irrelevant overnight. And that's the stuff that we're not going to learn by sitting for 3 years in a lecture hall on our weekends at an MBA. So I think I'm taking a stab at MBAs, but it's really more asking questions about the way that we're teaching people and what we're teaching them.
Well, we certainly have heard that with a lot of entrepreneurs and leaders like yourself in terms of not having to do those long courses. But I guess if you're wanting to be a doctor or similar, a lawyer, you're going to have to go to a university. But yes, it's certainly changing with how we're learning. We're not seeing or learning from Encyclopedia Britannicas anymore. We've got information at our fingertips. But what are some of your real key messages?
Yeah, I think the real key message to take away from You Don't Need an MBA is that what we really want is strategic leadership from the people that are heading up our communities and our organisations. Technical leadership is great and it will get you so far, but what we really want is strategic leadership, and those are the skills that enable us to be flexible in the face of change. You know, flexibility and resilience are the buzzwords of the moment with COVID leadership. And it's all very well being great at what you do, but if you're blind to what happens when you've got a new competitor into the market, or when something changes, or all of a sudden you've got to send your staff home and go online, and you're like, oh, I don't know what to do now. Well, it doesn't matter how good of a technical expert you are. So there's that really core skill around being aware, being resilient, knowing what's going on, being able to cope with change.
Yeah. Finally, Alicia, how important, and I would think it's even more important now, to be a good person as a leader. Keep your manners in check.
Absolutely.
Treat people well. It's been a difficult couple of years, and sometimes in the past, I know when I started, that wasn't very prevalent. Thank God it is now.
Oh, totally. Because, I mean, if you're playing a long game, and if you're a strategic thinker, you are, right? Then you don't make decisions that are great for the short term. And we've seen this in COVID, when people have made knee-jerk decisions that have treated their staff badly or treated their customers badly. We have a long memory. We're going to remember that. If you're playing a long game, then we're looking for integrity, and we're looking to develop the kind of sustainable skills and sustainable relationships. They're going to be useful to us 20, 50, 100 years down the track as a company, and certainly for the rest of our career. And making short-term decisions doesn't support that. So, be a good person, have some integrity, lead with confidence, but lead with flexibility, because if you're in it for the long game, which you should be, the world's going to change a whole lot in that time. And if you don't change along with it, you're in trouble.
Well, we can certainly learn skills, can't we? But in terms of changing your behaviour and treating people in a different way, hopefully people can learn that just as fast, or certainly, the way of the world and how we're seeing leaders and hearing the words, kindness and gratitude and all of that sort of stuff is very much in the limelight.
Oh, absolutely. And I think we are starting to think more about leadership as an idea than we ever have before. And that's been really evident if we look at the way we've been dissecting the political response to the pandemic across the world, different governments, different leadership styles. And what we're starting to see is that this stuff does matter. and the skills and capabilities and behaviours of people at the top, they make a huge difference to not just how well a company does, but actually to how a society and a community responds when things change. And we've certainly noticed that here in New Zealand. I think focusing on what it really takes to be a good leader is more important now than it ever has been.
Absolutely, and that goes into parenting and everything else. We're all in this together. I love your message. I love Wellington as well. Alicia, thank you so much for coming on the program today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.